You've probably felt it your entire life, that subtle distance between you and everyone else. Not loneliness, exactly. Not shyness, not weakness, just difference. You walk into a room and immediately sense the mood before anyone speaks. You notice the tension hidden behind smiles. You feel exhausted after conversations that others call normal. You replay words long after they've been forgotten by everyone else. And somewhere along the way, you started asking yourself a quiet question. Why does everything affect me so deeply? Maybe people told you that you're overthinking, too emotional, too sensitive, too intense. So you learned to hide parts of yourself, not because they were wrong, but because they made others uncomfortable. Here's the paradox no one explained to you. The very sensitivity that once protected you is now the thing that makes life heavier. Your awareness kept you safe. Your empathy prevented conflict. Your emotional radar helped you adapt. But protection has a cost. Because when you feel everything deeply, you don't just experience joy more vividly. You absorb tension, disappointment, rejection, and unspoken pain. You became someone who understands everyone while quietly feeling misunderstood yourself. And the hardest part? You often don't know why you feel different, only that you always have. Tonight, we're not going to label you as fragile or special. We're going to understand what's really happening beneath the surface. Because highly sensitive people are not broken. They are nervous systems shaped by depth in a world built for speed. The science behind sensitivity. Psychology has a name for what many people experience but struggle to explain. Highly sensitive people, often called HSPs, possess a nervous system that processes stimuli more deeply than average. But this isn't just about emotions, it's about processing. Your brain doesn't skim reality, it studies it. Researchers link this trait to deeper activation in brain regions connected to empathy, awareness, and meaning-making. Your nervous system isn't weak, it's highly responsive. And this sensitivity is often shaped through early experiences. Let's understand 3 psychological forces that commonly form this inner world. Hypervigilance develops when a child learns that emotional safety depends on observation. You learned to read tone, facial expressions, silence, not consciously, instinctively. Your brain's threat detection system, the amygdala, became finely tuned, scanning environments for subtle emotional shifts. What began as adaptation became identity. You didn't just notice emotions, you anticipated them. Emotional neglect isn't always loud or traumatic. Sometimes nothing dramatic happened, but something essential was missing: consistent emotional attunement. When feelings aren't fully validated, a child learns, my emotions are too much. So sensitivity turns inward. You begin analyzing yourself constantly, trying to regulate emotions alone. The nervous system stays active because it never fully learned that emotional expression is safe. Neuroscience points to increased activity in the brain's default mode network, the system responsible for introspection and self-reflection. This means your mind naturally returns to meaning, memory, and interpretation. While others move on quickly, you revisit experiences, searching for understanding. This is why a small interaction can stay with you for days. Your brain is not exaggerating reality, it is processing it deeply. Sensitivity, then, is not fragility. It is depth operating without adequate protection, the invisible grief. There is a quiet grief that highly sensitive people carry, not the grief of loss, but the grief of constant adjustment. You learned to shrink reactions so others wouldn't feel uncomfortable. You laughed when hurt, stayed silent when overwhelmed, adapted your personality depending on the room. Carl Jung once wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But for sensitive people, authenticity felt risky, because authenticity exposed vulnerability. So acceptance became conditional. You became likable instead of honest, understanding instead of understood, strong instead of supported. And slowly, something subtle happens. You stop asking, "What do I feel?" and start asking, "What will keep harmony?" Philosophers like Seneca warned that living for external approval creates inner division. And that division feels familiar, doesn't it? Part of you longs for connection. Another part fears emotional overwhelm. You crave depth but fear rejection. You seek closeness but need solitude to recover. This creates an existential tension. You are deeply connected to humanity, yet often feel outside of it. Rainer Maria Rilke described this condition beautifully, that some souls are destined to feel life more intensely, and therefore must learn solitude not as isolation, but as restoration. Because sensitivity means you don't just experience life, you absorb it. And absorption without boundaries becomes exhaustion. How sensitivity shapes your life. The child who learned to feel deeply becomes an adult shaped by invisible coping strategies. You might recognize yourself here. You may overanalyze conversations, searching for hidden meanings. Silence feels heavy. A delayed reply feels personal. Not because you're insecure, but because your brain is trained to interpret emotional signals deeply. You often become the emotional caretaker, listening more than speaking, understanding more than expressing. You struggle to say no. Not from weakness, but empathy. You feel others' disappointment almost physically, so you avoid causing it. But over time, this creates resentment and exhaustion. Highly sensitive people often feel drained in chaotic or competitive environments. You thrive in meaningful work, creativity, psychology, teaching, storytelling, yet may doubt yourself because loud confidence is rewarded more than quiet depth. You may need more recovery time after social interaction. Crowds overwhelm you. Conflict lingers internally long after it ends. Your nervous system processes stimulation longer and more intensely. Because sensitivity was misunderstood growing up, you may secretly believe something is wrong with you. You compare your emotional reactions to others and assume you're weaker. But what you're experiencing is higher emotional data intake, not deficiency. You adapt easily to others' needs, which can make you lose clarity about your own desires. You become who the environment requires, and eventually ask, who am I when I'm alone? Here's the truth. These patterns are not personality flaws. They are survival strategies that once kept you emotionally safe. Awareness is not about rejecting sensitivity. It's about learning when to stop surviving, from survival to wholeness. Healing for highly sensitive people does not mean becoming less sensitive. It means becoming safe inside your sensitivity. Here's where transformation begins. Your body needs signals of safety, slow breathing, nature exposure, intentional solitude without guilt. Rest is not avoidance, it is recalibration. Ask yourself gently, when did I learn my feelings were too much? Validation rewires emotional memory. You begin giving yourself the attunement you once needed. Sensitivity often hides suppressed anger or unmet needs. Allow yourself to acknowledge frustration. Boundaries are not cruelty, they are self-respect. You don't need to scan every room anymore. Not every silence means danger. Not every emotion requires fixing. Safety can exist without constant vigilance. There's a quote often attributed to depth psychology. Your sensitivity is not the problem. The world simply taught you to experience it alone. And maybe that's what healing truly is. Not becoming tougher, not feeling less, but learning that your depth deserves space. Because the goal was never to be hardened to fit the world. The goal is to build a life where your nervous system can finally rest, where empathy becomes strength instead of burden, where awareness becomes creativity instead of anxiety, where feeling deeply becomes connection instead of isolation. If this video felt like it was describing parts of you that you've never been able to explain, you're not alone. There are millions of people quietly learning the same lesson. Sensitivity is not a flaw, it is perception without armor. And healing is simply learning when you no longer need the armor. If this resonated with you, consider liking the video, sharing it with someone who has always felt different, and subscribing for more psychological explorations into the hidden patterns shaping our inner lives. Because in the end, the goal is not to be fixed, but to become whole.